Shall we start? Start பண்ணிக்கலாமா?
ஒரு 5 minutes. Yes sir, we will start sir. Yes sir, we can start. பண்ணிடலாம் sir. சத்யா
Sir, good evening, sir.
ஸ்டார்ட்
Sir,
பண்ணிடலாமாமா?
shall I start, sir? Yes, sir.
ராமகிருஷ்ணன் சார்.
சொல்லுங்க சார். குட்
ஜாயின்
ஈவினிங்
பண்ணிட்டாரா?
சார் குட் ஈவினிங். ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடலாமா சார்?
ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணலாம் சார். நான் பேசுறது கேக்குதுங்களா எல்லாருக்கும்?
சத்யா ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடலாமா?
கேக்குது சார்.
ஓகே சார், தேங்க் யூ.
So, shall I start, sir?
ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடலாங்க.
எஸ் மா ப்ளீஸ்.
Good evening to one and all. It is my great pleasure and privilege to welcome you all to the special program organized by the Institution of Engineers India, Salem Local Center, Salem. On behalf of the organizers, I extend my warm greetings to all the distinguished guests, professional members, engineers, academicians, and dear participants who have joined us this evening. To begin this program, I now invite Engineer S. Loganathan Sir, Chairman and National Council Member of IEI, to deliver the welcome address. Sir, please.
Thank you, madam, for your introduction. So we are very happy to welcome today's chief guest, Mr. Ramakrishnan, Principal Consultant Infosys, for our 146th weekly online lecture series organized by the Institution of Engineers Salem Local Center as an Engineers Talk Forum. So we are very grateful to the Mr. Ramakrishnan for readily accepting our invitation to deliver the topic of securing the modern enterprise cyber security in data centers and hybrid cloud. It's a very important. So everybody now worrying about the security of the data. So now the mass data has been utilized by the various agencies. So every individual also worrying about their personal data. I hope this lecture will enlighten us about the how we have to keep our data very secure. So also how we have to manage the enterprise's data effectively. Hope our Mr. Ramakrishnan will clarify our doubt at the end. So I really thank our Dr. Sadish Kumar, our honorary secretary, for fixing our chief guest today in the important topic in the computer engineering, the cyber security in data. Hope everybody will enjoy this evening. So I really welcome all the committee members and our honorary secretary, Dr. Sadish Kumar, and all the senior members and student members for today's lecture. Also, we are very happy to welcome our chief guest and keynote speaker, Mr. Ramakrishnan, once again. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir, for your warm and gracious welcome. It is now my privilege to introduce our esteemed chief guest, Mr. V. Ramakrishnan, sir, Principal Consultant Infosys. He is an accomplished enterprise cloud and cybersecurity architect with over 22 years of professional experience in the IT industry. He has been associated with leading organizations including Infosys, Hexaware, Tech Mahindra, Capgemini, and HCL Technologies. He has led several consulting, solutioning, and enterprise transformation engagements across the UK, USA, Middle East, and Europe. His areas of expertise include zero trust security architecture, secure Azure and AWS cloud landing, zone design, and enterprise scale cybersecurity transformation. He has also worked closely with CIOs, CTOs, and CISOs, helping organizations achieve secure digital transformation. He holds professional certifications, including Microsoft Cybersecurity Engineer tracks. We are indeed privileged to have such an enterprise experienced professional with us today. I warmly invite our keynote speaker, Mr. V. Ramakrishnan, sir, to deliver his keynote address. So over to you, please.
Good evening all. Thanks Loganathan sir and Satya madam to providing me an opportunity to discuss about the securing modern enterprise and cybersecurity in data center and hybrid cloud. Uh, I'm very privileged and happy to meet you all over the Zoom meeting, eConnect, to discuss about the topic. And thank for providing an opportunity, Institution of Engineers, India. And let's go for the session. Let me share my screen. Just give a thumbs up if you are able to see my screen. Are you able to see my screen now?
Sorry, sir, we couldn't able to see your screen.
Okay. Is it visible now?
Yeah, visible,
No,
sir.
sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Now, okay.
Okay. So as in the introduction, Satya madam provided me about, I have 22 years of experience in cybersecurity in an IT industries where I'll be ensure and leading the transformation and transition program across all Europe and US clients. I have worked on from the end to end consulting, solutioning, implementation, and operation. So BOT, we used to call it as build and operate and run. So, based on the bad experience I have in 22 years of experience in cybersecurity in various cybersecurity spectrum, I would like to share my insights and ideas across to all folks to have insights on how the modern data centers and how the security basically that's changed the landscape and from static to the dynamic. So we're going to be discuss the following agenda. Why this matters now? So why we need to discuss about this modern enterprise security and how it gets shifted from the perimeter, the static data centers to the cloud, and how the basic approach or a philosophy that changed from the old castle and moat model and how it got breakdown, and what are the risks we going to be foresee and how we can mitigate those risks that in terms of arising in the hybrid cloud environment. And what is zero trust architecture? The moment that be it an identity, be it a data, or be it a network, or be it anything as such, you want to secure data. If you want to providing or bringing in a resiliency that the data for the customers or company data, what is zero trust architecture and what are the list framework that providing in a guidance and how we need to follow the guidance, and what are the practice that we need to adapt the zero trust as a journey, and how we can provide in a roadmap to the customer or for our own organization to adapt in a zero trust and ensure the cybersecurity resilience. And I'm going to take, if the time permits, we can take up a Q&A session at the end of the cybersecurity insights. So just to give an idea with the IBM data about the data breach report, which recently released in 2025 end. So these are the numbers that's mentioned in the financial numbers. So the cost of the data breach for consolidated for all the organizations, it's around $5 million, which include data breach, the reputation damage on a client. Our data is theft and stolen by the attackers or ransomware attackers or the group of attackers, the forum of attackers. And particularly in US, it is all-time high because of the data breach, how the organization is giving a penalty, and because of the slow reduction, how the penalties keep rising, which almost 11 million. Okay, once an attack is happened, that we identified in the data breach is happened, to determine, to identify and contain the breach, it takes an average of 8 months. earlier it was in 9 years, but it's still 8 months to take it. But it is not actually the generic number. But this is what the report says. The bottom line is the breaches are very cheaper to contain when it got fast. So the moment we identify that there is a data breach occurred, there is an attack has happened. So we need to engage all this, the cybersecurity folks, get engaged and involved to contain the breach, to contain the damage control first. And how it's going to be increase the risk when the environment become from static to hybrid or multi-environment IT estate. So this is quite old, where your data center. Let me spend for 1 minute what is data center. When applications are gradually is growing for an enterprise, one who developing an application and hosting an application in the data center, your data center can be anywhere in the world that has a fixed boundary. So user used to sit in a campus office accessing the data center resources and service hosted in the data center, and all the data just living in your inside one network, not going anywhere. And the moment you trust your employee or a user or your contractor or your third party vendor, that's an implicit trust will be established, because you consider the inside employee or a very trusted employee that they are not going to be tweak or tamper the data. So you are establishing the VPN for your third party to connect the remote access. You are providing access to access the resources or workload or application or a server, which is not being inspected or not being monitored as effectively, and it is continuously having the same access. Even though some employees left from an organization, that the network level access still persists and still exists. And the investment of the perimeter, it is highly and heavily on the perimeter, only this that limited controls for an internal system, not for an outside. So that's what I mentioned. It is just a Cassidy mode. The Cassidy mode example is a classic example for the perimeter security model. If you know the fort, our pioneer kings and kingdoms construct the big fort. Among the big fort, they construct some kind of an perimeter defense shield. So this is a very old concept, that perimeter security model only has a location as an identity. So your data resides only one in a place. This is a static place. So everything inside that, your data is inside as an inside untrusted network, and your user is also inside untrusted network, and everything is outside is untrusted. So this is just a flat and everything is inside is trusted, everything is outside is untrusted. So that's all. It's a very flat how we are allowing our own family member to our home without providing any access or any authentication or verification at all. But if you are allowing your guest into your home, you have some sort of a security, and you have some setting and limitations and governance. Your guest will not enter into your kitchen or any other other than your drawing room. So such a concept or such a philosophy we explored in earlier stage. As it is breaking perimeter, and it's got broken because of the modern and let's take for an example of a COVID time. COVID time, everybody knows that we got into everybody advised to take your classes, your work, everything is on a remote. So it will automatically cloud into the play. So once we the world entered into the COVID, the pandemic mode, where employees, users, students, everybody getting into familiarity of online. So user or employee may not, could not go to the offices. So they log in from their own laptop or company laptop to access and continue their work. So that is making facility to access and continue as a business as usual, but it is creating a risk, because if somebody is accessing an corporate resources or corporate servers or application from their own laptop, it will impose the risk. And as I said, so students are logging from their mobile.
கொடுக்க மாட்டேன்னு சொல்லிதான் பொண்ணே கொடுக்குறாங்க. அதை போய் தகராறு பண்ணிட்டு இருந்து என்ன?
So accessing logging from the Zoom or a collaboration tool like in Zoom or any other collaborations tool to connect and operate, it is exponentially the risk is imposed, and this is what the reason and six reasons that perimeters got broken down. So that the earlier methodology or the aerial way of accessing and corporate resources is completely got changed. Your demography is completely got changed. So what are the areas that defending against the modern data center? So the ransomware, your extractions and lateral movement. If an attacker is enter to your place and it got some sort of access privilege, and they will move from the lateral movement from one system to another system, or one server to another server, or one application to another applications. Okay, so these are the just modern data centers defending against how the misconfiguration is creating an imposing a risk for a storage or overly permissive rules for the particular. We're going to be discussing detail in upcoming slides. This is the shared model and shared responsibility model for the cloud. I just want to spend sometimes what is the difference between the shared responsibility. Cybersecurity is just shared responsibility. It's not an individual responsibility, that be it cloud or be it in on-premise. Particularly for the cloud service provider, your Azure or AWS or GCP or Oracle Cloud, be it any cloud provider, they have a 3 bucket of services at a high level: IaaS and PaaS and SaaS. So these are the layers that I just listed out: your data and access policy, and your applications, and your runtime, your libraries, and so on, and your operating system, and your virtualization, hyperconvergence and the hypervisors, and all your virtualization layer and virtualization fabric, and your network fabric and physical infrastructure. As you look here, in the color in blue, it's a cloud provider responsibility. Color in gray, it's a customer responsibility. If you are hosting an application in the SaaS based, only you're responsible as a customer only for the data. For example, if you are hosting a mobile application, or if you are hosting a food app applications that you hosted as a SaaS application, right? So only you are responsible for the data and access policy. How are you going to be set your access policies? And you have any OTP to log in, or you have any email ID, or you have any SAML, or you have any IDP third-party access to access your food app application, whatever. Okay, or whatever applications you design. And for the data, you are responsible to control your data, whomsoever to access the data. If it is a PaaS, your application and data will be your responsibility. Underlying your operating system, virtualization, and hypervisor fabric, and network fabric, and physical infrastructure, it's held responsible for the cloud provider. Similarly, for IaaS, if you do not have such a kind of a coding, or you have some limitations that you cannot host your application in the PaaS based as a PaaS platform as a service. So you have to ensure that you are held responsible for your data and application and operating system. Since you are taking a responsibility for an operating system, and you are responsible to patching your operating system. If Microsoft releasing a new patches, for example, if you are running in a server 2019 or 2019 server in a hot fix, you have to. If Microsoft is releasing a zero-day attack vulnerability, you have to ensure that there is de-risk that is being taken care, and then you are running and you are patching your operating system as suggested and as compliant. And on-prem, you are fully responsible for a data application and your binaries and operating system and every underlying infrastructure. So this is the shared responsibility. You should understand where responsibility relates on what layer. how it's get breached. So now you do not, as we discussed so far, you are inadvertently, and you cannot escape from the adapting the modern way of accessing your applications. If you are a Gmail user, if you are an Apple user, if you are an Android user, your data will be stored in the cloud. So you cannot escape from the cloud. So that's what the basic understanding we should come in. For an enterprise, if the data is storing in a cloud, so how we need going to be secure? And for an enterprise, to storing a data and having or keeping a database in the cloud, various providers providing in a various level of or various types of storage. Your Azure, if you take file server, block storage, and so on, and AWS as providing an as a bucket for the data storage, that you can store the data, retrieve the data, and this is one of the gate to get breached. And yeah, a person to access the data from the mobile or corporate provider laptop, how the roles are will be defined. If the person is exponentially or super permissible access is being provided, that is also a gate, or that is also give a room to get the data breached. And APIs calls, you guys might be knowing how the APIs keys to be secure, and if there is a secret in an API key, how it can be authenticated, how well you can authenticate it for doing an API call with an MFA or any other SAML base that you can do it, and how you can limit the rate limits for each API calls, and how you're going to be essentially bring the visibility, how who are doing an API calls from where, from the trusted resource or untrusted resources. And the network segmentation, it is also a kind of a strategy that we need to be, this is a key strategy, how you can define your boundaries, what are the trusted and untrusted zones that have to be selected, and how your what you call the communications between the cloud and an on-prem, and how you're going to be secure the communication, because your data sitting in a data center somewhere in Mumbai or Chennai or Bangalore or somewhere else in the US, which is Azure managed data center, let's say for an example, and you have a data center, your own on-premise data center that you are hosting your data center in your office, let's say Bangalore. So how are you going to be ensure that communication, established communication as well as secure communications when communicating from your data center to your cloud provider? And if you are in a developer or a hardcore developer, you might be knowing that how the pipeline is defined, and the CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment, how your container images continuously get scanned and continuously compliant in the container images, and how your tokens can be secured. If you are keeping your tokens or a password or anything such in your writing in a code, that should be masked outside, should be secured. So if you are not secured properly, if you are masked your secret properly, that is one of the key rooms to get your data is breached. And shadow IT, it's a very keen and highly challengeable for the modern day, because everybody started using chat GPT, right? So it's not actually a shadow IT, but how we going to do for the SaaS based applications, for the unsanctioned applications or unsanctioned SaaS or AI tools operating from the outside security visibility, and how we bring the visibility, and how we can do a control. So these are the key areas I just listed down, where the key areas that we need to focus on, and the key areas that highly having a chance to get your data get breached. Okay, and now we are entering the zero trust. So what are the challenges and what are the ways that your data get breached? And this is the philosophy and this is the model that we need to mitigate or de-risk your from the data breach. So verify explicitly, use least privilege access, and assume breach. What is verify explicitly? Authenticate and authorize every request, not just for one person access everything forever. Authenticate and authorize every request. If the user A accessing application, every time it has to be verified. It's not one time job. Every time is a right authentication, right user, right application is accessing or she is accessing, and how we are authorizing it. So every request that has to be validated and bring in visibility and to be governed. This is not only for your application or device. It could be for all available signals, include identity, locations, behavior, and your device. And this privileged access grant one if a user A accessing an application. There is a three-tier, let's take this example, three-tier application. If the three-tier application sitting on the same server, your web tier is in a front end, and then back end, and your middleware. So that users, if you are applying from network level of access that you provided, so from the system, from the user, it is allowed for all. It is not for the, it's a, not a, it is a super permissible privilege. It should be a least privilege. Only that particular access and particular application and particular process only that user, he or she can access. And it's an assume based. It is also a design. You need to assume if attacker already in your environment, in your demography. So how are you going to be minimize your blasting radius to control the damage if anytime an attack is happened. So these are the three fundamental idea for the zero trust when we are adapting the zero trust for modern days. I'll take a pause. If any questions, I can answer. Okay. So the zero trust architecture has 5 pillars. That 5 pillars covers all the components that you are in your IT estate, be it in on-prem or be it in a cloud or be it in anywhere. So these are the 5 main pillars. It covers everything, and those are identity, device and networks, application and workload, and data, which you can stitch for the philosophy of visibility and analytics, and how you can automate and orchestrate the complete access. For an example, if the user A accessing an application A from his or her device or from the corporate laptop, how the authentication is happening, and how you basically this automation and orchestration and governance and bring the visibility will provide in a complete story of that particular access or particular data flow from user to an application or application to application or system to system. Okay. So for an identity, what are the recommendation or guidance that providing is strong MFA. So everybody is might aware of OTP, right? So it's one of the way of multi-factor authentication. So the moment you are entering into your Swiggy or Zomato app, it should be comply with an OTP. Without a, you can log in with a password, but OTPs must be required for the MFA authentications that ensure that we are allowing that particular user who already registered Zomato or Swiggy applications with an MFA, and it should be continuously validation. And that's why every time you are logging with an application, it is asking for an OTP. And this is for the service account for not for the end user, service account for to communicate from system to system. Okay. And the device. If your application has a crown jewel, let's say for the payroll system, okay, I am accessing my company's payroll system from my mobile. If my mobile is compromised from attackers, or if my mobile has some malware, it is highly get a chance or a risk of to expose or data is going to be happen. So your mobile or your corporate laptop / your personal laptop, when you're accessing an applications, what is your posture of your endpoint? Your endpoint, when I say endpoint, it could be a laptop or could be your mobile phone or tab or Kaisok or whatever. That is a device. That is an endpoint identity that has to be secure and healthy and hygiene, and all the components should be met. That should be compliant with an antivirus to be get updated. You should not be as in a very old operating system, and that is you would have seen when you're accessing some of an application. Let's say for your mobile application, it will be asked you to force to update your mobile application because of this. For example, you are accessing your ICC Bank or HDFC Bank application. Sometimes the HDFC or ICC application forcibly to upgrade your application because of the current version of the applications what they developed may expose some vulnerability, maybe. Okay, so that's why users to be asked to forcibly get an update so that your application will be de-risk or less vulnerability. Okay, so these are the conditions and compliance to be met when you accessing your applications. That is a way that you can ensure your transaction of your from mobile phone to access your account, transferring the money or receiving the money. Okay? And your network is a micro segmentation. It's a very big concept, and this is a fundamental layer or fundamental requirement or fundamental prerequisite to adopt the zero trust. And this is the way you design and structure and orchestrate where your application and how your applications can be hosted securely. And this is also ensure that there will not be no implicit trust between the zones. Okay, and this is also very important that you note it down for the micro segmentation from the network layer, because you need to be strong in the network. That is in a fundamental, and then you can build your building, because foundation should be in strong always. An application and workload, and as we highlighted and discussed, how your CI/CD pipeline can be designed. It cannot be like in a waterfall model that you are everybody might be knowing that you are studying in a security software engineering. It is not like the traditional way of water flow model that design, deploy, and operate, and then maintain, and then test your code, and then implement. Now, and security will be considered in the later stage. That is not a way now the security has looks like. It should be in every layer and every phase of this. Even you need to start your security strategy and design from the design phase itself. So when you start your integration or a development, so every phase it has to be from SAST and DAST on how you are securing your code. You are developing a code should be compliant. If you are using a GitHub, how your PR request is happening. So if your PR is happening with nowadays, think about it in the modern way of if you are building an LLM model for an AI, and if you are not considered for the security, there will be high chances of leading to prompt injections or lacking in the security. The complete CI/CD pipeline or your complete DevOps cycles and data, and this is what everybody should care of it. How your data should be get secured with the following of this zero trust approach, and how we are going to be classify data. So let's say PII data, so personal identification information, your debit card, Aadhaar card, your PIN number, your phone number, your name, email ID. So all of the PII data should be classified within the confidential. And now it can be, what are the data that can be classified as public? What are the data classified as internal, so that you can classify your data first. That is the first step to control the data, to govern the data basically. And if the data, okay, we have to process your credit card number and your PIN number or your mobile number or your email ID or name. Anyway, we have to process your data because of our business is needed that to process the data. It's okay, but we have to secure way that we are storing your your Aadhaar card number. It should be in an encrypted format. Okay, so there is a governance and there is a framework and there is a guidance is provided in all the frameworks that we have to follow. How the data will be encrypted while it is traveling from one system to another system. How it will getting encrypted when it's storing in a server or your database or your applications or your device. So basically the data flow cycle, it should be encrypted, classified, and controlled and governed. And finally, that how you are doing a visibility and analytics, how you are bringing a visibility. So who is doing what and who is doing what and who is accessing what, and how we can control, and everything is going as expected, as we believe that is happening, that we can only get, you bring the visibility. and you can, based on the visibility, you can do an analysis and then stitch it together to orchestrate and understand the complete data flow from an end to end. I think we talked about it, how the identity and access management has to be configured in the zero trust as in the practice. So if you are accessing publicly hosted applications, as I mentioned, your Swiggy app or your mobile applications, that should be enabled in MFA. It is not just a username and password, and then password is just password 123 or something. So that is not the zero trust approaches. So every application should be mandated to integrate with an MFA. That could be an OTP, that could be your email, email ID. I mean, your email or your OTP from your mobile, or you can having a call, or you have a thumbprint, or your iris scanner, or anything as can be an MFA. And least privilege and rollback authentication control. So what job that you're going to be do a functioning of that particular business or particular access, that you need to be define the role. He's an administrator, or he's a user, or he's a developer, or he's a contributor, or he's just a reader, just to see what is happening. So that role has to be defined on the scope. Okay, he's a reader. He can access the particular server or application, only can read. He or she as a reader can't modify the data or delete the data or copy the data. So that's the way we can design and deploy or implement the roles based on the scope. If a contributor, only he can modify the data. If it is something something is incorrect or wrong, he or she can have only privilege to modify the data, but he cannot delete, or she cannot delete. So such a way we need to define the role. And just-in-time access, it's an elevated access granted only for the temporary. A person A is doing a job of job J on a particular application or a server. Once that access is established, only for that particular time of that access. So just-in-time access is also a mandate control to identify for an identity and access management. And privilege management is essentially for administrator who are administering the server or administering the network infrastructure or anything. So only credentials will not be stored in your sticky notes or somewhere else. It's a very bad practices. So only credentials should be in a key vault or vaulted base. Only the particular administrator to get the credentials to log into the server or a router or a firewall or any other network components or a server application or a GitHub repository or whatsoever. So the privilege access management can be leveraged to provide only the vault password. Typically can access only from the vault. So it cannot be stored in anywhere else, and the vault can be, the password can be rotate every time. So it will be in a high privilege access accounts. And conditional risk base, it is similar to that list privilege, but I'll give you an example. So for example, if a user is sitting and operating and supporting a company from Bangalore office, he or she traveling back to Mumbai, the moment if system is identified, he's supposed to coming from the Bangalore IP address or Bangalore system, but why he is trying to access from the Mumbai office or somewhere else in US. So it will be behavioral analysis and location, and so this is the way you can control and put in the conditions. Only this user come from this particular location. So you can avoid somebody is accidentally accessing the system from who is from the Mumbai office. It's also get restricted. So these are the controls that you can put in place to bring them a more hygiene and more secure, particularly for an identity and access management. Microsegmentation, as I mentioned earlier, this is quite a huge topic, and how the network controls can be focused on from flat network to the microsegmented network. Basically, how you define your zones, and how you deploy your application, and how you segment your application. So you should not be put everything in together in one server, or one hypervisor. That's a flat networks that leads to that lot of breaches and attacks move very freely and quickly between the workloads. So basically, if you want to give an analogy, you have a many, let's say you have a many ground, you have many jewels. Okay, you have what do you call 100 kilograms of or 1,000 kilograms of crown jewels or properties or an important document. If you put everything into one bureau or one safe, if attacker gets into that safe, he got everything, right? But if you segmented, microwave segmented, and then you keep your jewels or species stones in one safe, and you keep it your document in bank locker or something, you segmented it. Even though you secure a network and you have a lot of fencing and security systems, even if a thief come and stole your jewels or gold, you may not able to move freely to get them all your properties and all your assets. So that's one of the strategy that how you can micro segmenting, and how you are giving your zones is highly trusted, and your crown jewels or anything as such that you can design that help us to contain the breach if the one segment is getting an attack. Others will not be get attacked. So that is a philosophy of this micro segmentation fundamentally. And how continuous monitoring and automation will help. So we discussed about this UBA, the user behavior analysis. So how the user keystroke is happening, how the unusual login is happening. So this is what I told an example. So unusual logins. A person A accessing always from the Bangalore office, the person A or a user A should not access from Mumbai or any other place in the world. So that is a behavior analysis that we are analyzing. If there is any deviation from an anomaly, that's detected as an anomaly and it detects the systems, and it is also controlled to have data access patterns. And you should have some logs and signals, and everything should be correlated with the signal source, so that you will get the complete story of that particular access, as I mentioned earlier. So SIM is one of the tool that you can help you to understand, correlate. This is a correlation engine basically. Under the SIM, it is running a correlation engine. A particular access, a particular user A getting into your system or getting into your network. What are the servers or resources that he or she is going? So first he is accessing server A, second he is accessing server B, and third is accessing database, and third is accessing a SharePoint link, and fourth is accessing. So the user details and who is coming and what are the things he is doing. So every story and correlations will be comes under this kind of a tool. And how you can remediate if you really identify there is a breach or there is an anomaly that you have identified easily, if you do an automated and remediation, so that the contamination, the damage control can be taken quickly and immediately, and you can control the damage. And this is also a very important topic or important pillar in zero trust. When you're adapting a zero trust journey. Nothing discussed about much. Is just discuss about how the real world breaches is happening. If somebody is configured, misconfigurations and the drift in the configurations, and how the compromise when you have any credentials and the implementation. So these are the topics we already discussed about it, and how we can third party because the third party you cannot control absolutely. So I'm from third party. Let's say for an example, I'm a third party, and I'm accessing an application, and I'm quitting the job, and then I'm just sharing my same password and username to my employee. Okay, so you cannot have a control until you have a complete governance, and how you frequently doing a governance and audit to have a contractor access and third party access. It is a common thread, and zero trust can help when you have an absolute governance in place, governance and compliance in place. I'll take a pause here, and then we have only 2 more slides. Then I can just describe about how the way to practically to adapt the zero trust as in a roadmap for an organization. Anybody have any questions? Okay. This is ideally this is the way to adapt the zero trust roadmap, but I have never seen this is the way to be approached. But this is an ideal way: assess, prioritize, strengthen an identity and segment, monitor and automate, and iterate. And this is not a sequence; it could be in a parallel also. So basically, you need to do an assess when you have an environment or your organization wants to adapt the zero trust from your legacy flat network or the Fortin mode, the Castellan mode model. When you get into the journey, it's a journey. It is zero trust is not just to achieve in a night. It is a continuous journey, and continuously you need to ensure that you are bringing in a maturity. So you have a maturity here. Start with 0. Tomorrow you have a 1. I'm just telling for the measurement. Day after or next week you have some measurement to measure your maturity and how you adapt to the zero trust and how you implementing your de-risk for your data and identity and so on. Okay? So the first phase is assess. In the assess, you need an inventory, the complete inventory of your IT estate. What are the identities? What are the assets that you have? How the data flow is going, accessing from system to system, users to system, or system to user, and what are the applications you have, and what is your business requirement, and what are the existing controls that you can leverage, or the existing controls has a lot of limitations, let's say, and how you can replace that existing control within a modern way of approaching to control the data and data flow. So basically, you need to do an assessment and do sort of due diligence, which start from the inventories, as a fundamental point, and priorities. This is also important. When you do an assessment or when you do a due diligence on a particular enterprise and organization, the moment if you look at the list of assets, everything will be important. Okay, nothing cannot be a de-risk or nothing cannot be deprioritized. So everything will be important, but you need to take a cautious decision and very informed decision. Okay, these are the out of 100 servers. I cannot leave all the 100 servers out of scope, but I cannot put all the 100 servers in scope also. But I need to cautiously take a decision on the 5 or 10 or 50 or 70 or whatsoever is the X number that I should be identified as a highly business risk. And this is the risk and this is the asset highly classified as a crown jewel. So I have to secure this server or application. So we need to prioritize this first. And for that application or for that data flow or for that particular crown jewel systems, you need to roll out for your MFA, least privilege, and if you required or demanding, and you can roll out for PAM or any additional controls, the controls what that you think as a lacking, which leads to data breach. So strengthening your identity is the next step, and micro-segmentation. It can, as I said, it's not in a sequential order. It could be in anything. So even if you think a particular system should not be in the right place or a right zone, so that you can think of in the way of to do the desegmentation or micro-segmentation from the flat network, you move the application from zone A to zone B or zone X to zone Y. Okay, and how you are moving from the systems and bringing every systems that in your high prioritized zones, that is ensuring the secure. And if you want to remove from your VPN, as I said, the remote access VPN, you can go within a modern and identity level access and of zero trust access. I'm not talking about the vendor now, but there is in the market there is a lot of vendor to moving your legacy remote access VPN, connecting from your laptop to accessing your on-premise / cloud network. You can move from identity level and access. Just get rid of from your remote access VPN. And monitor and automate. We discussed about this SIEM and SOAR. And if your existing environment is not having this SIEM and SOAR in a modern, you're not going to lose anything, but you're going to one big piece that you cannot monitor or you cannot automate or orchestrate. So these components also very important in terms of zero trust adoption. And iterate, okay, everything is set, we assess, we list down the list of identities, we did the prioritize, what are the crown jewels systems that should be have a secure in place, we did the segmentation, we did the strengthening an identity. So can we stop? No, it is continuous and it is continuous iterate forever for as long as you have been bringing in a maturity that and there is no end for this. So you need to continuously assess and continuously reassess because it is continuously dynamically changing, right? You the way you know today we have an AI, yesterday we don't have an AI, so we need a different approach and how we can adopt the AI in security and how we can secure the AI within AI. Okay, so that thought should come. So it is continuous iterations. So my presentation is technically going to end now. I'll take in a questions, and these are the just a list of takeaways. I just put it for your notes. What are the points that we discussed? And I have to take the questions. Anything you have? You have anything? Anyone have?
Dear participants, if you have any queries, please ask them.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, good evening, sir. Sir, in
Good.
what way zero trust architecture it can be implemented?
Where to start? You're asking, Ashok? Or
Hello, sir.
yeah, I'm able to hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
No, what is your question? I didn't get your
Sir,
question.
how easily it will be implemented the zero trust architecture for an organization?
It's a good question. We cannot do it easily to adapt. As I mentioned, zero trust is it is not a tool. You can imagine zero trust is not a tool or a product or a firewall or a, what do you call, or a server or anything that you can go and buy a market and then put in your environment and it will become a zero trust. No, it is a philosophy basically, and it is provide some guidelines and it will provide some steps so that as I mentioned in my last slide, so there is a process or there is a way you need to take your list of assets in your organization. So you have 100 server, you have 100 routers, you have a 50 firewall. So take out that and start from the due diligence. So what are the servers really required? Basically, what you lacking today and how you going to be improved. That's the way you need to start. And you cannot implement zero trust in a night or in a week. It is a continuous process. I hope I answer your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Zero trust basically don't trust anybody. Okay, so that's a philosophy. Don't trust anybody. Always verify. That is a thumb rule for the zero trust.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
And thank you very much, sir, for that highly informative and insightful keynote address. Your valuable perspectives on cybersecurity and secure digital transformation will certainly benefit all of us. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you all for providing this opportunity. I hope these sessions will not be give you a detail of the zero trust, but definitely I hope this will be an eye opener or just a keystroke to have.
Certainly, sir. Certainly.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Certainly, sir.
Yeah.
I now invite Dr. R. Satish Kumar, sir, Honorable Secretary of IEI Salem, to deliver the vote of thanks. Sir, please.
Yeah, thank you, Satya. Very good evening. It's my privilege and pleasure to propose vote of thanks on our 146th webinar series of IEI Salem Local Center. At the outset, I am very much pleased to thank our chairman, Engineer S. Loganathan sir, who is continuously guiding and support in organizing this webinar series. Thank you, sir. I am very much happy to thank today's resource person and keynote speaker, Mr. Ramakrishnan V, Principal Consultant from Infosys. He very beautifully elucidated the topic, securing the modern enterprise, cybersecurity in data centers and hybrid cloud. As you said, definitely this session would be an eye-opener on cybersecurity to the budding engineers. Thank you very much for your time with us, sir. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to thank the Engineers Talk Committee of our IEI Salem Local Center, Dr. K. Tangaraju sir, immediate post chairman, who has arranged this wonderful session through Mr. Ramakrishnan sir. Thank you very much, sir. Immediate post Honorary Secretary, Dr. C. Davamani madam, Engineer N. R. Mugam sir, Dr. A. Kumaravel sir, Engineer Sindhu Kumar sir, Engineer INR sir. And also I thank all the corporate members, committee members, all the staff members for their continuous support in organizing and making this evening session of all Wednesdays very useful and insightful. Thank you very much. Thank you all the student and staff members from various institutions for their support. I thank Professor Satya, English Department of our St. Engineering College for her support in organizing this event. Thank you. And our office staff, Mr. Tyagu, and everyone, I submit my sincere thanks for making this event very successful. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Dear participants, please give your feedback through the link given in the chat box. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir, and thank you all. Participants, kindly give your feedback. The link is in the chat box.
Cannot provide the certificate.